Hey everybody, welcome to the bottom line. I'm Michael Nolan. Tonight we're going to be talking about Deep Purple, Richie Blackmore, and how hell froze over last night. Now, as a lot of you already know, I am a major Deep Purple fan. In fact, I've been championing their latest effort, their latest album called Splat. In fact, I've designated it a masterpiece. Not only that, but last night when Deep Purple played live, they played quite a bit off of that album, as I understand. But that wasn't the major bit of business being conducted at last night's concert. You see, Richie Blackmore got up on stage and joined Deep Purple for probably their biggest hit, Smoke on the Water. Now, there's been a lot of bad blood between Richie and the rest of the band over the decades. In fact, it's been 33 years since Richie Blackmore was even connected to Deep Purple. We've seen footage of him throwing water at band members and stagehands. We've seen interviews by the classic lineup that said they would have nothing to do with the man ever again. Now, I just saw an old interview of John Lord, and how he expressed it was he was surprised at the animosity that had grown between Ian Gillan, Deep Purple's lead singer, and Richie Blackmore, their lead guitarist. You see, back in the day when the band was on tour, the band members would often pair up to save money and share rooms. Guess who shared a room together most of the time? Of course, that was Ian Gillan and Richie Blackmore. So they started off as friends, but as time went on, there was a real divide between these two individuals. So much so that Ian Gillan would choose to leave the band early on and give them 6 months' notice. Of course, it didn't help that him and Richie weren't getting along, but he also wasn't getting along with one of the band's managers, and that was the end for him, or at least for a while. Of course, they would continue on. They'd record their Burn album with David Coverdale, Glenn Hughes, who just announced his retirement from touring altogether due to medical conditions. But when Glenn and David joined the band, they followed up their phenomenal success of Machine Head, the very album that has Smoke on the Water, with the wonderful album